Hello, welcome to Monday's show of Alienate UK. This is it penultimate? Do you know when I said these words that I can say in my head and I can't say when as soon as you open my mouth?
Oh,
that's one of them.
So
this is the second to the last Monday that we're going to be doing. So this one, then we've got another one in 2 weeks with a guy called Ian Gossett from Georgia, Atlanta. And then we're just going to be doing Wednesdays and Fridays, and they're going to be up to 2 hours long. So, did it. I did it. Still can't say it. I'm not even going to try again. So, welcome to the show again, Mark. Thank you so much for coming back.
Yeah, absolute pleasure to be back again. It seems like only 2 weeks. Oh, it was. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Yeah.
All good. After a crappy day today, I'm glad to be home and doing this. So, right.
We've sort of drifted into this because 2 weeks ago we got into this, and then we didn't really have the time. So I'm looking forward to you having longer shows. I think that's a really good idea.
Well, that was another thing, because I was saying to you off air just quickly, the 90 minutes is good. It's good for the rendering for YouTube and all that and getting it all uploaded to podcasts. But when you've got a lot of people in the chat, you've got a lot of questions and you can't get through the questions, that extra 30 minutes makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem it, but it does. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing it. So
good idea.
It's good. Let's see if it works.
We go.
Yeah. Right. So the name of this is Faking the Moon Landings with Mark Olly, because both of us agree that the moon landings are not genuine, shall we say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought this for quite a long time, and we'll go into that as we talk through. But if you want to start off on your reasons behind it, Mark, and I'll just interject every so often, and hopefully mine will make as much sense as yours.
Oh, dearie me! I can't remember. I don't know if that's a threat or a blessing. Actually, letting me loose.
It's probably a threat, but not a good one.
No. Well, when you start to look at what I would call, let's say, real science, there are contradictions in what they say they can and can't do. So for me, I was tiny. I think I was 8 years old when they did the moon landing back in the 1960, whatever it was. Yeah. For me, it's been there my entire life. I remember, getting down near this little TV, black and white TV screen, and watching these little blurry figures bouncing around and going, oh, look, they're on the moon, and then pretty soon afterwards thinking, no, there were too many things wrong with that, even at sort of 8 years old as a kid. I was like, but at that age, you just you put it to one side, but it set the alarm bells ringing. And what I've been doing, what I do for a hell of a long time, I'm an ist. I'm not a scientist. I'm an archaeologist. But, at the end of the day, anyone with ist on the end tends to be a thinker. And I've been watching what's been going on each decade, decade on decade. And it's just got more and more ridiculous and stupid and impossible and implausible as time's gone on. And we're now at the stage where they're actually backpedaling on a lot of what they said back at the beginning. Oh no, we never took the photos, they were all reconstructed on Earth. No, we never sent any video footage back, or anything like that. That's all reconstructed, or there's it was all totally live. No, it wasn't totally live. We had people telling them what to do, and and basically what's happened is, as long as all you had was that little fish tank that broadcast something in black and white, you were fine. You were on safe ground. You were going to get away with it. Fast forward now, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, we're so much further advanced that you can't, to use the title, fake the moon landing on the internet. It's impossible. You can't do it. There are too many people with too much technology just taking this thing apart. And they're ripping into it, So really, that's where I'm coming from. There was a lot of nonsense talked about it back in the day, but people sort of let that slide because you couldn't really argue with it. Fast forward to now, oh boy, can you argue with it now? So I'm seriously not a believer.
No. What got me was probably, I never really thought about it, to be honest. And it's about 2-3 years ago, I was either watching something or listening to something, and they were saying that NASA lost the technology for us to go back to the moon. Like, what? Straight away, alarm bells started ringing.
Yeah.
Like, how can one of the biggest government agencies in the whole world that probably spend the most amount of money to cover everything that they do lose technology to go somewhere that was 60 years ago ish?
Yeah.
Right.
How's it possible?
And then some of the reels and the tapes and the communication was found in somebody's garage in America, and apparently they sold it at a garage sale because they didn't know what it was. And on these boxes, apparently it said moon landing, whatever, archives and all that kind of, I don't know how true that is.
Well, that I believe is the footage that eventually found its way online, where it came onto the internet, where it's got the third NASA feed still on it. So you've got the one coming from the space shuttle or space, whatever it is. You've got the one coming from the base down below, and then you've got the director,
right,
with a 3-minute delay, telling them what to say, what they can and can't say, interrupting the feed, etc. So clearly, the truth is out.
Yeah,
clearly.
But, and the other thing was how it can't be faked because there'd be too many people involved straight away. That's a no. You don't. You only have the main people that are running it and the supposed astronauts. They're the only people that need to know that it's not real. Nobody else needs to know. They think that it's all genuine. They don't know the live feed isn't coming from the moon. They've seen what looks like 3-4 people get into a craft. Obviously, they don't see him getting back out the other side or at the bottom or however they got out, and then it shoots up out the atmosphere, and that's it. That's all they need to know.
Well, they don't even know officially.
Not less. You can count on one hand, 2 hands, maybe.
Yeah.
Who was in on it?
Yeah. Well, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
And that actually is. That argument works against itself, because the more people you've got involved in the overall infrastructure, the easier it is to lose something in the middle of that infrastructure.
Yes.
That's the whole point. And again, that's why the astronauts have got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Did you know that?
Because
yeah,
yes,
because
I did.
they are film stars. You know, that's why Stanley Kubrick recorded that video that made it onto YouTube shortly before he died, and confessed that it was him that directed it. You know, a lot of people, NASA included, went, no, it was a lookalike. It wasn't Stanley Kubrick at all. And then all of Stanley Kubrick's mates and his relatives and people who knew him all dove on and went, well, actually, that was him.
Yeah.
We know that was him. You know, that's perfectly true. So, you know, this, you know, all these guys bouncing around and all the photographs and everything, certainly from the first and second and third and the first few moon landings, all of those are all done on a sound stage.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows anything about that knows that that's how they were done. I mean, going back to I think it was the 1990s, there was a friend of mine who was a photographer. We met up at one of these conferences, and he said, look, I'm thinking of writing this book about how all of the moon landing photographs are fake, because as a photographer, I can analyze all of these photographs and I can find within the photographs themselves how these photographs have been done. You can see the lights, you can see the wires, you can see all sorts of other gadgetry in there. And he actually showed me a photograph and he said there are 96 mistakes in that photograph that tell me, that's only one photo, that tell me that photo is a fake. He said you can see stands, you can see wires, you can see lights, you can see all sorts of articles and items that appear in reflections. He said the shadows are going in all the different
the shadows were even close.
No stars in the star field. He said the source of light, you know, the sun and all the rest of it, is all completely wrong. He said they've floodlit under the moon lander so that you don't get any dark areas. So the exposure for the whole thing is artificial. And he said, and you're telling me that a little box strapped to the front of them, one of those Leica camera things, he said, or Hasselblad or whatever they were, you're telling me that one of those is going to produce absolutely pristine, pin sharp, perfect photographs of the lunar surface, and that film is going to survive going to the moon and coming back, when he said he couldn't even take photos on one of them cameras under those conditions that were that good, and the film would not survive being irradiated, which is what happens when it comes back from space.
Because it was just normal film, wasn't it?
Yeah, he worked with those cameras, and he said he was having trouble getting those.
Even I know that.
He was having trouble getting them through airport security.
Yeah. As soon as you go through a magnetic belt, a magnetic machine,
gone.
You might have a little bit of something, but you ain't going to be able to tell what it is.
Yeah. Well, one of my favourite photos he had was he said there's this brilliant photograph, because on the film, and I watched it because I was there, remember, in the 60s, I watched this guy, you know, coming down the steps, you know, one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. And he bounces down the steps. And there's a photograph of him coming down those steps on the front. I think it's National Geographic magazine. And one of his legs is sticking out at 90 degrees. Well, that never happened. That never happened when he came down the ladders. So that was clearly another photograph that was studio staged.
Yeah.
So, you know, one small step for a man, one giant leap, you know, first man on the moon and all that. Yeah. Where was his cameraman? The cameraman's flipping 30 meters away from the lander, filming him, making the first step on the lunar surface. It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense.
Nothing does. Because I watched, there's an interview, one of the last ones that Buzz Aldrin did. And he was saying about going to the moon. Someone asked him, he was like, he wasn't at a conference, he was just in a crowd of people. And someone shouted about going to the moon. And he went, oh, no, we never went. And someone like dug his elbow into his ribs. He's like, and then I can't remember what he said, but tried changing it.
Well, there's that famous one where the guy making a documentary with the camera chases him up some steps or something with waving a Bible at him, going, would you be prepared to swear on a Bible, you know, that you went to the moon? And he turns around and punches this guy's lights out. Rather than answer the question. And there's a few, as he got older, he made a few cock-ups like that. I mean, sure, if anybody goes off and does a YouTube search, there's loads of interviews like that where it goes wrong. And he doesn't give the answer he's obviously supposed to give. So yeah, my favorite one, I've got to say this while we're still in the the whole production side of it. James Bond, Live and Let Die. Now, I went to see the James Bond movie at the Pictures because I'm a massive fan of James Bond. I know it's all kitsch and all that, but I love it. Ian Fleming, who wrote Live and Let Die, did not put the moon buggy ride in his book. There's that bit where James Bond breaks into this, complex.
Yeah.
And then he gets onto the sound stage where there's these guys bouncing around and there's a lunar pod and like a moon buggy. And then he gets into the moon buggy and he rides the moon buggy out of the complex.
Yeah.
That entire sequence is not in the Ian Fleming book. It's not in the book. And the rumours are that was the sound stage next door to where they were filming the Bond film. And that's where the lunar thing was filmed, on that sound stage.
Do you think that was Hollywood's way of saying
dropping breadcrumbs?
Yeah.
They're dropping breadcrumbs.
Hidden in plain sight.
Exactly.
Is my favourite phrase. Yeah.
There you go.
And everything.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Honestly, the more you start to look. Another one that I particularly liked was the first moon landing. I think, did they go there 7 times in all? They were supposed to go there.
I don't even know.
6 or 7. I lose count of the number of Apollos. But certainly the first time they're on the moon, they're in a particular crater. And that's where they're supposed to be. And they're filming it. They're filming all this stuff. And then quite a few moon landings further on, where they're supposed to be on a completely different bit of the moon, you can actually line the skyline up on the footage on this particular later one with the same landing from the first one. You can line it up, and it's very clear that it was filmed either on the same set or in the same location. You can tell, because you can line things up. It's clearly not 2 entirely different things. It's the same thing. The best one I've seen recently as well, you're going to love this. You can absolutely adore this. Look, all this, there's tons of black and white footage, of people, bouncing around like this, and the moon buggies going like this, and dust goes, poof, and it's wonderful. Yeah. If you speed it up by 50%, then it goes into normal time. Yeah. So all they did to do that was slow it down by half. That was it. That's the special effect.
It's like the Bionic Man back in the day. To make him look like he ran faster, they slowed it down.
Well, to give that anti-gravity effect, that's all they did was slow all the footage down. That's quite simply how they did it. Not entirely successfully, I have to say. There are 1 or 2 clips of these guys falling over in spacesuits. They're out there.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And it's clear they're on wires, because they don't... They swing, they don't fall.
You end up coming back up like they're on a pulley or something.
Yeah, that's it. And then you've got the flag thing as well, where, there's no gravity, but the flag's blowing in the wind. Yeah. Really? It just... And things like that, the list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. It's like the sun's over, say, to the west, but the shadow's being cast to the direction of the sun, and it's just
they're ragging around on this moon buggy. I saw a photo recently. I thought it was amazing because you've got the pod, the lander pod that's covered in copper-coloured tin foil, and you've got this thing sat there, and you've got the moon buggy, the lander that they're driving around the surface on, is parked next to it. Now I defy anyone to fold that vehicle up sufficiently small for it to be able to fit inside that lander. Absolutely impossible.
Well,
There's no way. There's nowhere to put it.
No, I know. Because I was thinking that, I'm just going to switch subjects because this is what started us off the last time you was on, about the Mars rover. The size of that.
Yeah. Yeah, you mean the Mars rover that's actually on a little island somewhere out in the middle of the ocean.
Is it called Devon Island or something?
I think it's called something like that, yeah. And people have actually got photographs of that island.
Yeah, they've got the mountain. Yeah, they've got the mountain range and the way
match them up,
everything, and it's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, you
So
can
the
match it up.
chances of that, yeah. So, because I thought all these buggies are only going to be like size of a dodgem, because you don't really get any perspective. But these are massive. They're like the size of like the base of it is the base of a house. Just the average size. They're quite.
Well, I think the Mars
big,
one is, but
big.
the one on the moon was about the size of an average car.
Right.
But the trouble is, so was the size of the lander.
Yeah.
So how are you going to get one inside the other?
Yeah, because they didn't build it like you would Meccano or Lego, did they? When they got there.
No. I mean, NASA will tell you that it folds up and that it all folds out, you know. But then, so what you're going to do? Fold this thing up and shove it up inside the tin foil underneath the lander, because that isn't going to work clearly. Because when the lander comes down, it lands on its legs, and on most of the photographs, obviously it jets. You know, it produces jets and it comes down and lands. There's no disturbance underneath it. The jets haven't blown anything away, so it hasn't landed on jets.
So if it's landed on legs, how have they got the buggy out?
Yeah, exactly, because it can't drop from underneath, because that's where the jets that obviously don't work because they haven't moved any dust. That's where they're supposed to be.
And they've not brought it down a ladder, have they? Sorry,
you know, it does. The more you go in, the more it. I mean, it's laughable. It's ridiculous, because I remember watching the footage of the lander sat on the lunar surface, and all of a sudden you get this bang, and it kind of explodes, and you see the pod fly off up into space, and you're like, yeah, the astronauts are coming back, yay! And this pod goes up, and the camera follows it. You can see it going up into the sky, you know. And who the hell filmed it? Who filmed that?
See, no one thinks of that at the time, do they?
You know, did they leave Bob behind on the lunar surface?
Still there, waiting.
You know, there you go, Bob.
Just be back in a minute.
Yeah, just follow us as we go up, will you? Yeah, how do you get footage like that? You can't do it. It's flipping Space 1999. It's Jerry Anderson. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's all that. It's nonsense. Yeah. Absolute nonsense. And I'm not. I bear in mind, I'm not even getting technical at this point. I'm not trying to tear it to bits. There's nothing. There's no substance in it to begin with. You know.
But can I put a bit of a twist in it? Do you think we have been to the moon, but not in a rocket, not in an aircraft?
Right. Well, that was the logical place to go next. I was thinking that as well. The question is, and people have said this, yes, we made it to the moon, but not in the way that you see on the photographs, because obviously we couldn't do the photos. So rule out all the film, rule out all the photos, rule out everything, the whole shooting match. Did we ever land on that big grey ball that's flying around us up in the sky? And the short answer is no. And the reason the answer's no goes all the way back to the very beginning where we came in, when I said what you need to do is pay attention to the science, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to use NASA's own survey data for this, because out there on the internet you will find that NASA have mapped the vast majority of debris that's trapped by the gravitational field of planet Earth. Now, if you're going to do anything, if you're going to put satellites up there or space shuttles or SpaceX or whatever you're going to do, you need to know where everything else is that's flying around up there, so that you don't hit it and it doesn't hit you. So there's really, really good, strong billion-dollar reasons why they have to get this right. But if you're going to have a look at their data, what they've discovered is that basically there are two layers, if you like. So imagine sediment in a glass tank. You mix mud in a glass tank. Some of it will all sink to solid. You might get a layer of certain weighted sediment here and another layer further up the tank. And basically that's how Earth's gravitational field works. And the lowest level of rubbish, if you like, is the lower part of the Van Allen belt. And then there's a thing called the sweet zone, where there isn't anything. And then you've got slightly bigger objects and other things that are gravitationally different further out in the outer Van Allen belt. And what you've got basically then is you've got atmosphere, lower Van Allen belt, sweet zone, upper Van Allen belt, that's inner space, and everything beyond that is outer space. That's how it
Right.
works.
Yeah.
Nothing at this point in time, nothing can get into outer space. The reason for that is that as soon as you hit either of those Van Allen belts, especially the outer one, you've got about, I think at the last count, there was something like 4 million fragments flying around the planet at 1,600 miles an hour in that upper belt. So literally, it's like having a million shotgun blasts and throwing a tin can through it and expecting the tin can to get through. Now, I saw a photograph recently of a piece of satellite that had been hit in the lower orbit, in the lower Van Allen belt. It had been hit by a microscopically small piece of debris. And this had just ploughed its way into this armor plating and punctured a massive hole in it. And it's just because they got the calculations wrong as to where to put this thing up in the atmosphere. They'd got it a bit too low. It had got zinged by this piece of, debris. Well, you're not going to stand a chance of getting to the moon because it's way outside that outer Van Allen belt. It's however 100 million miles they call it, or 93 million miles. It's miles away. It's trapped by a different part of the magnetic gravitational field of the Earth. It's trapped miles outside any area that we can get to. So not only does that rule out getting to the moon, it rules out Mars, it rules out sending satellites out to the outer galaxies, it rules all of that out. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but at the same time, I am a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And this is where wording becomes really important. NASA has always said, without fail, everything that we get back, so that's photographs of Mars surface, satellite shots, radio telescopes, all the rest of it, they said our data comes back in digital form. So what happens is we get our data back as zeros and ones, and it goes into our system where it's decoded. And then we have people in our employ that then work on that data, and it will eventually materialize as a proper photo that we can actually read from that data. Now, that sounds perfectly plausible, except we also, in the normal, average, everyday world, have a word for that, and it's called CGI. They are CGIing every single image.
They've admitted to doing it though, of photographs of the Earth. Like they've got with the clouds, it's like they're using say 7 or 8 different cloud formats, and you can see it's repeated throughout.
And the further out, the further out you go, the worse it gets. So you've got some bloke who's basically a graphic designer sat there, and he's just basically playing to a set of rules. I personally think that when you see the photos of the galaxies, so like, the Hubble telescope and things like that, I think each time they refine the image and you get a better image and all that, I'm willing to believe that those images are probably the way that they would look if it was possible for you to see them with the naked eye. They're starting to get close to that because the digital data that they've got that they're working with is improving. And each time it comes back, it's adding extra detail to what we already know. But you've always got to bear in mind, nobody's ever seen any of it. Nope. Nobody's ever taken a photograph of any of it. And nobody's ever been there when somebody has. It's all done by machine. It's all digital. And as we know, you can make digital look like anything you want it to look like.
Yep. Oh, yeah. The image behind us too now, that's just me talking into my iPad that created that.
Yeah.
That was it. I told it what I wanted, and I got 4 different images, and I chose that one. That was the better out of the 4. And that was it. And that's just on an iPad.
This is real. This is real. Yeah, that really exists.
Yeah. Oh, this is real. It's just the ghost and the alien that's above us and behind us. But it's just so easy to do. But it's like, because I've seen a couple of things in the chat about Nuki Brown put that when they did land on the moon, they said that there's craft waiting for them, and there's supposed to be loads of different types of ET stood across the top of the crater.
Well, you know,
and then they cut the audio. But
you could say anything you wanted.
I know
You could say anything you wanted. If it's all that side of it is all fake. They just had a need for America under Kennedy to beat the Russians at it. They just needed to win that race, and they were willing to win it at any cost. You know, I mean, in the 1950s, I think 1958, they did a documentary on what they were intending to do and how they were intending to do it, presented by Walt Disney.
Right.
That tells you all you need to know. They'd already got the idea of what they were going to do. They already knew where they were going with it. Yeah. And sure enough, 4 years later in 1962 or whatever it was, they announced that they were going to do it. And they did it. And they beat the Russians and the rest of it. You know, the rest, as they say, is history. But it's not. I mean, if you really look at it, that means that, well, chances are the Russians were right. When they sent a dog up in a capsule, it came back dead, you know?
Yeah.
They never did it because they realized it couldn't be done. The Chinese are banging stuff up in and out of the atmosphere all the time, but that's for military purposes. It never gets outside the atmosphere. You don't hear of them going off and setting foot anywhere. They don't do that. And India, I don't know if you saw the one with India, which I think was last year. They said they'd managed to put this orbital lander thing on the moon, and it looked like something out of Space Invaders. You know, you
oh, right, yeah.
You know, it looked like one of these Galaxian things, bright yellow. It was extremely poor CGI.
So why,
you know?
I know you said, like, they wanted to do it to prove that to beat the Russians and that.
Yeah.
But why are they still doing it? Steph's just put in the chat. What about NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter? It mapped the moon at the highest resolution and shows physical landing sites.
Or did it?
I don't know anything about that. I've not even heard about it. So,
well, as far as I know, the mapping of the moon has supposedly been done by satellites, both sides. And the problem we've got is that the moon, when it goes round, always has the same side facing towards us.
Yeah.
Technically, it's not a planet. It's a planetoid. It's a large mass, a large body trapped within the gravitational field of the Earth. So it's going round in the same way that all the debris and everything else joined on is. You know, it's not, strictly speaking, it's not a moon because it doesn't have its own spin. It doesn't have its own gravitational thing.
Yeah.
The reason it's called moon is just because that's a label we've stuck on it. So how on earth they managed to get round onto the dark side and do that is open to debate. Who knows? I mean, I can remember when I was at school, you know, they had maps of the moon up on the wall. They had both sides of it clearly mapped out and all that. But I smell a rat. And the reason I smell a rat is when you get into history and archaeology, you learn a lot of stuff. And what I learned, because I actually own it, I have a slide, a glass lantern slide from the 1880s that very clearly shows the surface of the moon in detail. So back in the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, they were already creating what they thought the moon was going to look like, which by sheer coincidence, it does. That, again, tells you what you need to know.
Yeah. So, see, because I'm still a bit not on the fence, because I don't think that, like we were saying, I don't think they've gone to the moon in a craft that was built on Earth, and we've gone up and they filmed it in 1969, whenever it was, and we've gone. But I think that we may have been to the moon a different way. But whether, what was it, through Stargate portals, non-Earth vehicles.
Yeah, this is where
it changes, isn't it?
Well, this is where the why. Why did NASA do what it did? This is where the why starts to become really important, because they must have had one hell of a thing that they were trying to cover up. to go to all this trouble and perpetuate it over such a long period of time. The question is, why? Well, one of the easy answers, NASA is a massive technology company. That's what it is. Its primary interest is in technology. So it's developing all these different technologies for all these different reasons. Whether or not they end up getting used for what they say they end up getting used for is totally irrelevant. They've got thousands of patents, new
I was just going to say that.
new developments. You know, commercially, they're on a winner. They can't lose. It's impossible. They can't lose. In the course of doing that, it does raise questions about teleportation, time travel, Stargate, super speed ships, you know, all this sort of thing. They could potentially in recent times have found a way of getting out of the Van Allen belt.
Yeah.
They could just, you know, dematerialize here and rematerialize somewhere else.
Yeah.
That doesn't solve all of the science questions, though.
No.
Back in the day, the assumption was that space was a vacuum. Space is empty. You know, that's it.
Yeah.
That is absolutely categorically not true. It's full of debris, meteorites, gas, radiation, goodness knows what else. And if you actually got out there, your biggest problem would be to stop yourself getting microwaved. You know, one decent sized solar flare and pff, you're gone. You know, it's not an environment that's conducive to life in the way that we understand it. Clearly NASA have either come a hell of a long way or they're developing all these technologies and that's how they intend to do it. I think there is still just a possibility that they're up to something, as probably you do, and that the answer could be with these craft that we're seeing. You know, that could be where the answer lies. As you know, I mean, I've done a book on a crashed alien vehicle, UFO. That's interesting because that threw up all kinds of technology that people didn't even know was being used at that time or even existed. So that was an interesting exercise in doing that. Clearly, they've got more stuff than we think they've got.
Oh yeah.
You know, and they've had so much time since Roswell. Roswell, I think, is the first inkling in 1947 that they're up to something. You know, they've either got somebody else's craft and they've stolen the technology, or they're messing about with their own technology and it went wrong, and that's what we're looking at. But it's the first red flag. It's the first big indication that the technology left over after the Second World War is a hell of a lot more than we think. Well, they've had a lot of time since then. You know, you can do a lot in like 90 years. You know, and I think that's what we're looking at. That way lies the answer. I think that's where the answer lies.
Yeah. So see, the other one is the moon isn't as far away as they're making it out to be. It's in our own atmosphere.
Well, that's another one. And where do you define the sort of the end of our atmosphere? As I've already said, it's trapped. It's trapped by us. It's going round with us. You know what I mean? It's part of us. It's part of the mechanism that makes planet Earth work. So maybe it's not as far away as they've made it out to be.
Yeah, obviously. You know? I don't know. It's just different theories that I've heard. So if
they got it wrong, if it's not 93 million miles away, if it's like, you know, wherever, they're never going to tell you. They're not going to tell you they've made a mistake. I'll tell you, we're only like 90 million miles out. Don't worry about it. You know, no, it's never going to happen. Never going to happen.
Yeah, I know. It's just, but then, like you're saying, with the technology that they've got, whether it's ours or like someone else's, they've reversed it, or it's just new technology that they've discovered, however they've found it, and then they've created these craft that can actually get there without all these obstacles stopping them from doing what they want to do.
Well, you'd have to have a point of departure, I suppose, and you'd have to have a point of arrival. But there's so much out there, you know, Einstein, Tesla, Hawking, so many people have looked at time and space. And if you didn't have that, if there wasn't that kind of linear thing going on, if there wasn't time and there wasn't space, what could you do? It'd be amazing what you could achieve. I think you've crashed. You've disappeared. Andy, you've gone.
Hello, I am here. My computer decided to shut down.
Hey, but you're back.
So I'm just rebooting it. I don't know what happened. No idea.
Well, listen. At least this proves we're live. You know, we're not just making this up. It's not all pre-recorded and faked. You know.
Oh,
it's happening for real.
Yeah, I don't know. The mouse just went all funny. And
do you remember when we were off air at the beginning and we were talking about technology?
Yeah, and now
there you go. You see, tempting fate.
So
tempting
I will be back in a moment. I'm just waiting for it all to just reboot. So,
well, the only difference between where you are now and where you were a minute ago is the picture quality. You've just gone to look a bit more like my quality rather than 4K.
Right, I should only be a moment. Oh, yeah, that's why I always have my iPad on standby.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
It's so annoying. Right, it should come straight back on. So it's just reloading now.
Right, here we go.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like because someone's just put in the moon is 238,855 miles away. Apparently.
Wow.
So that's
I know where that comes from. Apparently they dropped a mirror on the moon that they can bounce a laser beam off, and it gives them the distance. So yeah, okay, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Right.
I think I might have got it mixed up with the sun. Actually, I think it's the sun that's 93 million miles away. But
right,
whatever.
Yeah, right. I'm going to come off here and I'm back on the PC. So just give me 1 minute.
All right. See you on the other side.
Right, see you in a sec.
While you've disappeared, at least we're not NASA. At least we're willing to say, well, if we happen to get the measurement wrong, you know, we're willing to admit it. So there we go.
Yeah.
On air. I might have got that wrong.
Go. No, it's easy done though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I say stuff all the time and I never get it right. But yeah, it's like, I know apparently it used to take like 3.5 weeks to get to the moon. That's what they used to say. But then
that's when they had the technology to get there, which apparently they haven't got anymore. Yeah, of course.
No, they've lost it, left it in someone's garage, didn't they?
Well, the funny thing is they still have the technology because it's on display in NASA. In the NASA Center in America, they've got the pod. It's sat there with all the buttons and all the rest of it. So you're not telling me they couldn't just go in there and make another one. They just copy the one they had in the first place. It's ridiculous.
This is the thing with the moon. It so much contradicts itself.
Yeah.
It's so hard to put it in a can sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like put a lid on it as to what happened and what didn't happen. And it goes back to that question: was you there? And if you weren't there, you're none the wiser, are you? Really? You just get told what you just know what you've been told.
It's a fantastic thing when you think it through because it's mythology. It's become mythology, so you can build on that. You know.
Yeah.
It's like Star Wars goes on forever. There'll always be a sequel. And once you've got that mythology in place, the problem that's happened, as I said at the beginning with the internet, that has undermined most of the fundamental pillars of that mythology. They've been knocked away one by one. It doesn't make sense. That mythology does not stand up to examination. But if you believe it, and if you keep believing it, then movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Star Wars and Star Trek. All that all of a sudden within the 21st century framework, all that starts to get accepted as reality or potential reality, whereas in fact none of it is. Anybody that works in media, television, film, etc. You know that you're faking it. It's made up.
Yeah, and it was like the interview with Armstrong and Aldrin. I can never remember the other guy's name.
Nobody can.
I can never ever remember it. And they're doing the interview, they're doing the press conference and that, and they're all sat there like they've had the asses slapped, and there's no enthusiasm, there's no joy, we've just been to the moon. We're the first people that have been to the moon. There's no, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a conscious effort at one point to cover
Was
up.
there?
Yeah, and the reason I know this is on a personal level. I'll tell you a story. I used to do antiques fairs with my mum and dad, because as they got older, I started helping them out with their antique stall. So we went off and did this local antique fair thing. And I'm there, and this little girl comes walking round, and she says, I've got a piece of moon rock. And I'm like, oh, really? She went, yeah. I've got it because my mum met one of the original astronauts. I think it might actually have been Buzz Aldrin. And he gave my mum a piece of this moon rock. And she had this little glass bottle with a little piece of grey rock in the middle of it. Anyway, I was interested, and I said, if you ever get the chance to bring it in, I'd love to see it. I'd chat to your mum, etc. Anyway, it was a regular antiques fair. We used to do it. I'd forgot about it. I think it was the following year. And she came back with a mum, and her mum said, She said, I was given this piece of moon rock, but there's a problem. And I said, oh, what's that? She said, well, what I did was I took this piece of moon rock in to where my husband works to get it analysed to make sure it was moon rock. And it came back as cement dyed grey.
Oh.
Now, this was in the 1980s, late 1980s, early 1990s. What I noticed, because I then started to keep an eye on these things, is that all the samples of lunar rock that were on display in museums around the UK all started disappearing. You'll get meteorites, you'll get pieces of space debris and stuff like that that's come whizzing in, but the stuff that they actually brought back all vanished. Then I was getting people telling me, they've done the same thing in America. All the stuff that got brought back from the lunar surface, however many pounds weight of rock it was, has all gone off display. All of it's vanished. And I know the reason why, because it was cement, it was concrete, dyed grey. That's what it was. They never brought anything back. And that's the truth.
Yeah, it's just... It's hard to get your head round, because it's very mixed in the chat at the minute. Okay. And I'm very... We didn't go to the moon in the 60s. We didn't go on Apollo 2, 3, 4, whichever Apollo it was. But I do think that we have been to the moon since, whether it was teleportation, portal, that means, or some other type of craft that can get through all these different layers that they need to get through to wherever the moon is, or unless the moon isn't as far away as what they're saying it is. I do believe we've been since then, but I don't think, like you said, I don't think we went then because it was a race against the Russians. And
I think
just
if you put the whole space thing together in one, so at one extreme you've got UFOs, alien life, lizard men, aliens occupying planet Earth, hollow Earth, you name it. Put that at one end and go right the way through the whole, everything in between, all the way to dropping a rover onto Mars and Voyager and, the telescopes and all that. If you have a look at all of that, there has to be somewhere in all of that evidence.
Yeah.
That's your key. Evidence. And I think that the whole debates in the States, for example, on disclosure, what are the government actually going to tell us? Well, we've just had a big wave of that now, and they've ended up coming out telling us nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's all the same basic argument that's behind it, evidence. If you're telling us these things, prove it in such a way that the ordinary man in the street can't just tear it to bits. Well,
that's it. It's like they keep, like you're saying about disclosure, they keep saying disclosure's coming, but they've had 4 in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And like you said, they've not told us anything. All they keep saying is, we know about these UFOs, we know about there may be other life form,
Yeah, they're not saying
that isn't
anything.
from Earth, and that's how you're getting. It's like we know that.
Yeah.
So do you know what? It's like just say, or even I know they won't because it's their way. They'd look stupid, and then no one would ever trust them. Is yeah, we know this stuff exists, but we don't know where it comes from, how it's made, or anything about it. Because straight away, that's them going.
But it's still better. That's still better than nothing.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it's
a step in the right direction, and that is the key to it.
I love it because News just put about government will never disclose. Whistleblowers don't ask permission to speak or what they can say. It's a show, and whistleblower. That's the same as conspiracy theories. It's government made. A whistleblower isn't a whistleblower. A whistleblower is someone that stays to say, this is what you can say, this is what you can't say. You can go 10% that way, 10% that way. Any more, you're gone.
That's it.
Straight off.
Yeah.
And you know what the score is. And that's it. That's all you can do.
I mean, I'm not just trying to sell the book Europe's Roswell 40 Years Since Impact, but at least I got the advert in. But if you have a look in that book, the metal analysis at the end of it, it finishes with an actual physical piece of one of those craft. I've got a piece of it sat in my office here. And we sent that off for analysis, and we got the analysis back, and it's made out of an exotic metal called lanthanum or lanthium.
Yeah.
That we don't use. There is no use for human beings to use that. It's too expensive to extract. It wasn't even particularly known when this thing came down in 1983. It's a completely exotic substance with really strange properties. And I've had no explanation from anybody anywhere. Nobody, people in the military have come forward and they've gone, well, we think it was a drone, or we think it was an aircraft that crashed. We think it was an experimental vehicle that came down, this, that, and the other. As soon as I've said it's made from lanthium, that's it. They've got no idea what I'm talking about. Not the foggiest idea. That is proper evidence. That's proper evidence that I'm digging into a case in that book that even a whistleblower couldn't blow because they don't have the data to do that. It's accidentally fallen into the hands of a member of the public and then eventually got into the scientific community, and it's been analysed, independently analysed. It's a phenomenal piece of evidence, but again, complete silence. Everyone's shut down. Nobody will talk about it. No, we don't know anything about lanthanum. No, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah. Well, that's it. They're not going to admit to it straight away.
But clearly, it's physically there, because we physically got it. So they can't say it doesn't exist. Somebody needs to just come clean and go, yeah, I've been using that for, whatever, for so long.
But this is going back to, like you said about the moon landings. You only need 5-10 people knowing what's really going on and not saying anything to anyone else. Same with, you say lithium. Same with lithium.
Lanthium.
What you said.
Yeah.
Same with that. There might be a handful of people that know about it, know what it's used for and why it's used and where they get it from.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't need to tell them. It's a need to know basis.
That handful of people that knew about how the moon landing was faked, there has been little clips of stuff that's come out, behind the scenes photographs doing it, outtakes, footage, the famous tapes, like you say, that were bought in a boot sale, and all that sort of stuff. Sooner or later, something gets out, Same thing has happened with lanthanum. That now has leaked out as a substance, a stealth material that will act as an outer coating for a vehicle. It's out. I've just said it. There you go. It's out.
Oh yeah. So
why don't they just go? Yeah, fine.
But the vehicle that's come off, so that snapped off, and you've got a piece of it, and it's like, oh shit, we don't want anyone to know about this. We'll just go in. We'll cover it up. We'll say we don't know anything about it, and then we can carry on using it. We can keep doing our experiments and creating these different vehicles, try and make them better and better. We just deny our official denial, isn't it? Like in Independence Day. That's basically what it is. We'll send out these supposed whistleblowers that are just agents that told what they can and can't say.
Yeah.
People think we're giving them something, but it's a distraction as to what's really going on. That's exactly how I see it.
Yeah, that
Nothing
is
other
exactly
than
how
that.
I see it. Yeah, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, don't let the right hand know what the left hand's doing. You know, it's smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, so it's like, no, forget about that. Forget about that. It's a weather balloon. It's this, it's that. Do you know what I mean? It's whatever. It's not what you've just said it is. And that's what they're doing, because then people go, oh, okay, then, and just carry on. A lot of people are not even bothered about it. It's like, yeah, whatever.
It's ironic, actually. It's ironic because I think there's only 2 TV shows that ever really have told the truth. I think the one that comes the closest in our particular bracket is probably the X-Files, the original X-Files series. I mean, that just absolutely, you know, plumbed the depths of what was possible. And I think they're getting very, very close to reality. I think somehow built into that is the answer. And they were giving us the answer then. But as, you know, drama, fictionalized. And the other one, which I've got to admit, is The Simpsons. Yeah, the Simpsons cartoon.
Wow,
they just,
I know.
you know, and that's because it's made by Masons. It's made by Freemasons. So that and the X-Files, if you watch those 2, it's pretty much telling you what, you know, what's coming if you know what to look for. And that's the temptation in human nature, to tell somebody. You have to tell somebody, you know, if you've got a little alien in a jar in a cupboard somewhere, you have to tell somebody. You know,
he's there.
Yeah, he's there. You've got him. You know, it's more than you can stand.
Yeah.
You know, if you know it's true. It's burning holes in your head.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
So that's why it happens.
Yeah. So Simon's put a question up. He goes, so was a rocket launched or not? So all these rockets that were launched into space and to the moon, yes, they was launched.
Yes.
Yeah. Where they went, I personally don't believe they went to their intended.
There's the famous documentary breakdown that somebody did on the internet of the Challenger accident, where that one goes up and it blows up, and they lost 7 astronauts, you know, and all 7 of them have been found now alive and well in different parts of America, you know, basically in a witness protection program. Different life, different name, different this, that, and the other, you know.
And you can tell it's them. It's to be like,
I mean, that is a great. If people want to go, you know, people want to go and find that, because that was a brilliant expose. Very, very well done. And so basically, what that's telling you is that there isn't anybody inside any of these things that they fire up. They just fire them up, and they join the rest of the debris up there. You know, that's where they end up flying around.
But this is the other thing. But do they ever make it there? What if they just go up so far, go out of sight, and then just drop into the sea?
Ah, you mean like SpaceX?
Yeah, but you've got is it Operation Hawk Spray? Hawk something. I can't remember the name of it. It's basically software where you can fly up to 5 different aviation vehicles at the same time.
Yeah,
like from a computer, literally from a computer desk, and you can control them and move them, make them go to wherever you want them to go.
That's the forerunner of a program called Swarm, and Swarm is the one that runs drones. You know, you can put drones up into the air. With lights on, and you can end up with a full swarm
I was
of them.
watching one yesterday. You had 5,000.
Well, that's what you're talking about. Is the forerunner of that, but it does it on a bigger scale. Yeah, it's basically the same technology. Yeah, so you could do that. You could fire a few different rockets up if you wanted to, you know, all at once, and maybe the one we're seeing is just the one that's on the TV, not necessarily the other one. They could fire somebody up, you know, shortly before recovering them in a pod. They don't, and that's another thing. They don't have to televise everything they do. They don't have to, you know.
No, but that's it. It's like, who's going to be watching for a rocket landing down in the middle of the Pacific? There's no one around for hundreds of miles.
They have this big
area
of ocean, don't they, that they try and crash them into on purpose. And when it comes to these pods, you know, that have got 3 astronauts in, and they're kind of triangular shaped, and they come down on parachutes, this, that, and the other. Just kick them out the back of a military plane. Nobody's going to know.
Yeah, cargo, isn't it? No.
Cargo.
Most of military planes are they don't have to log every single one, as you know. Because when you see these flights going over, if you look on flight radar, there's nothing on there.
And if you watch the size of some of these transporter planes, you can get, full-size trucks
yeah.
out the back of them. So size isn't a problem.
Yeah.
You're shoving out like a space capsule on a pallet. They do that every day.
I know. Well, the things they do, I go past Mildenhall and Lakenheath. I think it was Lakenheath on Friday, and as I'm driving down, there's one of the I don't know names of planes. It's a big grey black coloured thing. It's one of the cargo ones. There's no numbers on it, no marks or anything, and it's taking off. So I'm trying to drive because the road bends round. So I'm trying to drive round so I can get to the runway point, is where it comes up and over the road.
Yeah.
Just to see, it's just fascinating, massive.
Yeah, we're under a flight path here.
Yeah, you could get double-decker buses in there. Anything, it's easy.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just going to mark something that Steph's just put because I want to go into that as well.
Okay.
But there is a question from Steph going back to about these so-called astronauts that just go into witness protection. So she's put, so these people just decide to leave their family and kids. Now, my look on that is maybe they don't get a choice. They've signed up to do this, and it's like, look, this is what you do, or you don't.
Well,
you don't exist, or you don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. It's that kind of consideration. Actually, I don't think plays into it at all, because if you know anything at all about military the world over, they own you. You are owned by whatever you sign up for. And anybody out there who's in the military will know this. Once a soldier, always a soldier. That's that. You're in, and you're either one side or the other of making that decision and that agreement. Once you've done that, anything else just becomes secondary to that, because you quite literally do not belong any longer to yourself. You're acting under orders. You're acting in the best interest of your country. So if it's a wife and a kid or your country, you're going to use your country every time. Plus the fact the way they actually relocate people and the way they do these things, in some cases, the entire family goes with them.
Yeah, I was going to say, surely the family would go with them as well.
Yeah, there's no
reason
why
they're like the other side of the world. Who's going to know? It's just a new family that have moved in.
Yeah, but the military structure and the way they do it enables them to be able to do that. Is basically the answer.
Well, you look at all the NDAs that have to be signed, especially in the military.
Oh yeah,
it's just Without
it's
going
a different world. Once you've interacted with people that are in that situation,
you're signing your life away. As soon as you've signed that first one, that's it.
I used to go to
I
used to attend a local church in the 1980s, and there was a teenage lad there who couldn't get a job anywhere else. So he went, right, that's it, I'm going in the army, going to join the army. And the reason he joined the army was that he was a computer specialist. That's what he did. He was one of these hyper intelligent mega beings. So at 16, 17, 18, he went in, he did his, basic training and all that. And he came out at 18 on a break, one of his time off, as it were. And he came and had a word with me, and he said, you're not going to believe what I've done. You're not going to believe this. I said, oh, tell me. He said, well, I got two things to tell you. He said, the first thing was I got on a military terminal, he said, and I decided I was going to hack the Vatican. I was going to go and get the Vatican website and have a look at all the Jesuit stuff. He said, this is what I was doing in my lunch break. So he got on there like that. Apparently, and this is remember, this is a UK military top secret terminal he's on here. He lasted 30 seconds before they locked him out.
Wow.
Bang, gone. He said, so not being able to do that, he said he went inside the structure within the UK. He said, and he went, UFOs. Have we got any UFOs? Are there any UFOs? And he got one. He got a UFO in a hangar down south. I think he said it was either Sussex or Surrey or something like that, parked in a hangar. Now, this is back in the 1980s, late 1980s. And he found one. And that was it. That was all he could tell me. He said, after that, he said, there's nothing else I can tell you about that at all, other than the fact that they're there. Now, I believed him because he had no reason to lie,
No. I've got a story about a UFO in Suffolk, right?
This might be the same one. I hope it is.
So I was out Kings Lynn area, literally between Suffolk and Norfolk. And I was going out, I was there It's more. I'm not sure what it comes under, but it's down near Sandringham, going out
Okay.
towards Hunstanton on the coast. Anyway, I was probably about 10, 15 miles away, but I'm out like that end. And we have a scanner, what we use at work, but
Yeah.
it has a sat nav and everything on it. It's phone, and it's like a mobile phone, but it's more like industrial, industrial-fied, if that's a word. So
Yeah.
I'm using it, and then the sat nav starts going all funny. Like it's showing me going down the side road, or I'm in the middle of a field, and it's putting me all these different places. I'm like, oh, I don't know, because I'd not been to this place where I was going, so I couldn't even guess where I needed to go. So I pulled up on this little dirt track. It's like 3 cottages, so it's like it's parking for them. They've got driveways and that. So I pulled up on there, and I'm trying to sort out how to restart it, and it takes about 2 minutes to reboot. Probably about as long as this computer.
I was going to say, it's solving the same problem now.
So I'm sat waiting, and then I noticed a blue light in the corner of my eye in the wing mirror on the van, right? So 2 motorbikes go past, then a cop car, then a low loader, followed by a van, a car, 3 more bikes. So the bikes were swapping at the front each time to stop the traffic to keep this low loader keep moving. And it was like Davis Logistics.
Right.
I can't remember the exact name. It was yellow with red writing on it. Yeah? Just a normal, like what you'd have a big JCB or a quarry digger on the back of. Your weight goes across, dips down, comes back up. And there's this thing on the back, right? And it was wrapped in green tarp. And you know when you, like I said, everyone knows, I drive for a living, so I'm up and down the motorways and bypasses, roads, country road, whatever road it is, I'm driving on it. And now you have machinery like milling equipment or foundry stuff. It's got plastic and it's got straps. It might have some tarp on it, stop it getting wet. But you can kind of work out what it is, what's underneath it. It's all flapping about. There's a bit of tape on it. This was airtight, right?
Wow.
It was green. I said there was either 7 or 9 police escort. Had the orange lights going on the low loader. This thing was about, so them low loaders are probably about 8-9 foot wide. It's hanging off about 2-3 foot either side.
Whoa.
So about 15 foot across.
Yeah.
It's probably about 6-7 foot high. The shape of it, right, as I'm sat here now, it was the shape of what you would describe as a flying saucer. So it was circular, had the dome at the top, dome at the bottom. And like I said, the ratchet straps on it, it was like one after the other after the other. You know, sometimes you can hear them flapping, it makes that that annoying noise.
Yeah.
But there was no gap in any bit of the tarp that was covering whatever it was that was in it.
Wow.
And I'm sat there just watching it go past. I'm like, and this car's going the other way. This car's in front of it. This car's behind it. I'm like, does no one know what's going on?
Nobody kind of clocked that, you know.
But remember what I said at the beginning? My scanner started to do all skinwalker stuff, went here, there, and everywhere. I had to reboot it. By the time they'd passed, it had come back on. I logged back into it. Come on, it was fine.
There you go. There you go.
So,
as I said, they've got them. They've got them. They've got them.
Well, people were saying, well, why was it not on like military vehicles?
No, well, that's a dead giveaway, isn't it? Because people can follow it then. They know exactly what it is.
But then, because like I said, there was two bike, either 2 or 3 bikes at the front, a car. These were all marked, police car, police van. Not a riot van, just a normal like transit van.
Yeah.
And then at the back, there's another car or van, and then 3 more bikes. So I know the bike swapping change because I know a couple of people that are in the police force that do that. Yeah. So when one stops, the other one will go forward, and then they'll go to the next junction. So obviously they're doing that to keep this vehicle moving, carrying whatever it was on the back. But I do know there are a lot of level crossings around Suffolk and Norfolk. Yeah. So they'll have done it for that as well. Because the amount of times that I get stuck on them, it's like, oh, not another one. Like there's one road you go over 5 different ones in like half a mile. It's like they've not got enough train lines around here already. So it was just, and it was that. And as soon as it had passed, the sat nav, everything on my phone was working spot on.
Oh, that's amazing.
And
That's
this was
amazing.
only, this is last year, beginning of summer.
Wow.
It
Wow,
weren't even that long ago.
So that's like a new story. It's a new
Yeah.
thing. The way they're
Yeah.
transporting that is exactly how I would do it
Is
if
it?
I had a UFO.
But this was the thing. This was the other question. It's like, if that was a real UFO, why is it on like Dave's cars? Do you know what I mean? Like just a normal haulage company. It was Summit Logistics, and I remember it was yellow and red. I'm like, that was my only question. Why they're using it? Why they're not doing it at night? Why they're not using military vehicles? I know they've got the police escort, so if anyone tries doing anything, all them police are going to be tooled up. So there's no stopping them.
You don't know what was in the van. You don't know who was.
But this is the other. But then
yeah.
You've got the unmarked cars as well. So I'm guessing some of the cars in front and at the back were also police ops.
They weren't bothered by what was in front of them. I mean, it does sound like they've found something. They've shrink wrapped it to prevent hazard. And I would say that the vehicle it was on was probably a military vehicle made to look like a civilian vehicle. You probably find the contractor. Find that the contractor doesn't exist. It's all smoke and mirrors. You know, it's all confusion. You know.
So I wish I remembered the name of it.
Yeah, I mean the vans might have had military in.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. The cars, the civilian cars that are around it, because like there are a lot of civilian, look like civilian vehicles on like because the US, UK combined air bases, as you know.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of the American type vehicles like the station wagons and all that.
Yeah.
But
it's
I
also,
didn't notice. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, nowadays it's really hard to tell if a vehicle's a police vehicle or not. I mean, up here we've got souped up plain grey Skodas here, and you don't even know that they're police till they put the blues on. As soon as the blues go on, you're like, oh hell, that's a police car, you know.
Yeah.
So
there you go, Joe's UFO removals. But that's what it was like, and it's like my only question was, why are they not doing it at night? Was it? I'm like, straight. Could it have been a prop? I'm like, why you won't have police escort if it's a prop? It wouldn't be covered. I've seen props being moved, so I know it's not that.
Well, wherever it was, they couldn't leave it there. They had to get it to where it needed to be, so they just got it. That's clearly what they're doing, you know.
Yeah. So it was round, and these. I know you've got Mildenhall, Lakenheath, then you've got Woodbridge, Bentwater, and Whiten, but that's more Peterborough way, and it was going away from there, so it could have been coming from there. I'm not so. And there's 2 more that I can't think of the name of. So there's 7 air bases in that part of the UK that are within an hour's drive. Someone's Nuki's asked did I have it on dash cam? Nope, because I didn't have it in my van at the time.
Oh, and you never grabbed the mobile phone and
filmed because it wasn't. It wasn't to restart it.
No.
And that was the main thing that got me was that's gone all AWire all over the place. It's never done that before. It's never done it since, and I'm using the same one now.
Well, there you go. What was that other question that came in? You said you had another question.
Yes. Ooh. So this was.
Let's not forget that.
So last week, like I said on Friday, I drove past Mildenhall and Lakenheath, and I bought a drone a couple of months ago, just a little DJI one, like the size of your phone.
Yeah.
It's one that's less than 250 gram, so you don't need to have the full stuff. Anyway, I got them both anyway. You fly his ID and your operator's ID. And driving past, I think the first one you come to is Mildenhall, where you come up for the main. Mildenhall. So that's on the left. And that's where I seen the big grey plane taking off.
Right.
I mean, we said, so I'm looking at the fence and it's saying no fly drone zone or something like that. And there's them all the way across. And this goes on for a couple of miles because you've got the length of the runway, the size of the buildings, and all that.
Yeah.
And then someone put a thing on Facebook the other day saying that these drones were spotted at Lakenheath and Mildenhall.
Yeah.
Because as I'm driving past, so I've got the airbase on my left-hand side, and it's all the farmers' fields that are on the right. I believe that they own a lot of that land that's to do with the farmers, whether they've got some have sheep and cows and horses and all that in. But I still think that that's got something to do with the government. So I'm thinking, well, what if I was to go in that field, or the one behind it goes up a bit of a hill? Would I be allowed then to fly the drone? Because I'm not going near the airspace. I'm not at the end of the runway or at the start of it. I'm off like a tangent to it.
Well, as a rule, everybody everywhere in the UK owns everything. So what you would have to do is get clearance from the owner of the land, whoever that is, to be able to fly the drone.
Yeah.
And they would either go, yeah, you're okay, or no, you're not. I mean, the ones they picked up recently, it was interesting that there's been drones flying around bases in this country and America and one or two other, shall we say, confederated countries that might possibly relate to Russian activity. So that's possibly what's going on there.
But my question to this was as well, how big were these drones? Because obviously the one I've got, the size of my hand, it's like no bigger than that. And then the legs come out and it's got the motors on it. So are these, could you sit in it? The size of a bike, size of a car? Is it size of a shoebox?
Well, they've got the big ones in China now. They've got flying cars. They've got these huge, enormous things. I don't know. You see, my second eldest son, in the course of his television work, flies quite a lot of drones.
Yeah.
And it's to do with the weight carrying capacity of the drone as to what you can attach to it. So I suppose it really depends on what you want to do. I would assume that a spy drone would have to be a proper drone-sized drone, if you know what I mean. Not the tiny little ones like the one.
Yeah, about 5 foot square, something like that.
Yeah, probably a proper reasonable size. But the thing that I was interested in is you've got to be able to have a takeoff platform for one of those, and it's got to come back to land where it leaves, if you know what I mean, and be able to control it. So if they've had 2 different incidents on 2 different air bases in the UK, then why didn't they just drive out and grab the person that was flying it? What's happened? Why have we not heard of any arrests? You know?
Well, that's it. And they were still taking off because this happened. This happened last week. I drove past there on Friday. I read about it on Saturday, I think it was. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I was there yesterday. It weren't me. And then I proceeded to write. But I did actually think about, would I be able to fly how close to this place would I be able to get to fly my drone without being contacted?
Yeah.
So the fault was there. I didn't do it, by the way. It wasn't me.
It wasn't you. Okay.
No.
I wonder what they would do. Like I say, I would imagine that they would drive out and try and arrest the person that's flying it. I mean, it can't be impossible to work out where it's coming from. They'd be able to do that. Or at the very least, if you've got a drone over your airspace and you don't want it, you can just shoot it down. Just put a bullet in it and bring it down. You know, they're not exactly going to be a threat to national security, because if you bring the drone down, it's going to have a camera attached to it. I'd imagine that they've got some kind of tracking technology where they can track who it is that's
what you're supposed to do
sending signals
when you connect your drone, because I use it via my mobile phone.
Yeah,
as an ID in there, and I think it gives your IMEI address out.
Yeah.
So if you've got a contract phone, it will come straight back to you anyway. But also, you're supposed to, I've not done it yet because I've not been out, is with your flyer's ID, you're supposed to write it or stick it on drone. So if anything happens to it, they can trace it back to who it belongs to, whether someone's lost it or they've been flying it inappropriately.
Well, go back about 10 or 20 years, and that no longer applies. They were at one point selling drones that were completely unregistered that you could just fly from a remote. When they first came out, they were just a toy. In fact, you could buy them in flipping Toys R Us, you know what I mean, for kids to fly them. So it's only a very recent thing where they've become as regulated as that. So if somebody got a hold of an older drone, they could just use it for whatever they wanted to, I suppose.
Yeah. But it's like the one I've got. It can do a maximum distance of 3 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have to set it. You can't fly high is 1,400 feet is
Then you
the
get
maximum.
to the airspace.
Yeah. So, and that's still quite high.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's good enough for film and television.
Oh yeah. I know. It's like it's 2.7K video on it. You can zoom right in. You got aerial view and FPV, first person view.
Well, they're producing them now where you can clip your mobile phone on.
Oh, mine's got. I can buy an
There you go.
attachment for mine.
Yeah.
You can put it at the bottom, and you can carry up to something like 10 kilos or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Quite interesting.
Without it affecting the.
There's going to be so many more
speed and
UFO
weight.
sightings now. As soon as there's all these drones up there, you know, people are going to be like, "Oh no, alien vehicles!" You know, and I mean, that's half the UFOs we've seen have been test vehicles. You know, where I live here up in the north, between Manchester and Liverpool, obviously we've got Winter Hill, which is not far from Manchester Airport. They've got the famous, you know, Winter Hill flying triangles. You know, these things that were flying over the hill that were lights on each corner. You know, 3 lights and a light in the middle, and zipping over there right the way through the 1990s. They were banging these things out. By the 2000s, the military had come out and gone, yep, stealth drones. We're flying them out of Manchester Airport. You know, so we're going to see a bit more of that by the sound of it.
Yeah, but it's like Ross has just put, it's a conspiracy. So this is the next question then to these drones that were flown over the air bases.
Yeah.
Were they actually flown? Or is it another thing to stop people from flying drones to put another law onto it?
That law, I think, already exists. I mean, I think it's an absolute no-no. You're just absolutely not allowed to fly drones over military space.
No,
and you can't fly them within so far of an airfield anyway. So that's all already there in legislation. But whether
then,
or not
are
they
want
want
to expand on it? Yeah,
they might want to tighten it up even more. It's like metal detectors. I mean, metal detector machines were unregulated for many, many years, and now they're fairly heavily regulated. So they're just tightening everything up, like you say. Yeah. Could be.
Yeah. Just playing on it. Done that one. So got a question for you from Blue Shift. Question for Mark. How is the English Roswell case going?
That's back to the book again. That's Europe's Roswell. Update. Well, the only thing that didn't appear in the book was the freedom of information request that we put in, because we put 5 out there in all. We did the local bases to the crash site. We did the police. We did Central Records Office at Kew. You know, 5 of them went out. This was in the run-up to publication, so we basically didn't get them all back. The 4 that we put out to military sources basically all came back and went, no, we don't know anything. You know, never heard of it. Don't know what you're talking about. You know, that's that. So they were all negative, 4 of them. And then 3 months after the book was published, we get the last freedom of information request back. And this is from the Central Records Office at Kew in London. So it's not a military facility. It's just, that's where all the records go when they don't want to hang on to them anymore. So we got this one back and it was amazing. It's the most amazing not saying anything by saying something request I've ever had. There's this little bloke sat there, you can tell, sat there in the record office at Kew going, how can I tell them without telling them? So we got this request back, and basically what it said was, we are not allowed to comment on this incident that took place in 1983. We're not allowed to comment. So we're like, hey, so there we go. It actually happened. We've got it in writing now. And then it went on to say, due to the 70-year rule and the fact that people involved in this incident are still alive today, we are not allowed to release any more details or names or addresses, etc., etc. So we're like, oh, okay, so there was a cleanup operation and there were people involved in cleaning up the wreckage, and that's what you've just told us. So by not telling us what they couldn't tell us because, you know, they couldn't tell us, they actually told us that, yes, the crash actually did happen. They do have a record of it. It does exist, although we're not going to be able to get at it for 70 years. And the people that were involved in that, in terms of employees or military personnel or civilian personnel, those people are still alive. Therefore, we're not allowed to release any of that information that we have accidentally just told you about.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, told you that, telling you.
So the investigation is continuing. We've not totally ruled out the possibility that we might do another analysis. We do still have at least 1 or 2 researchers out there on the ground, local to where this sort of thing happened, that are keeping an eye on what's going on. So if anything else is generated anywhere in any form, we will get to hear about it, because, you know, we've got the records out there. The DVD now has gone up on YouTube, so you can go and watch Europe's Roswell documentary, 25 years since impact. You can go and watch that. That's out there. The book now is in print, so that's obviously moved it on a bit. You know, things are still happening. It's far from a dead case, is what I'm saying. We're open to, you know, new ideas and new suggestions. And as I said in this program, you know, if anybody out there knows any more, especially about the lanthanum, the lanthanum, you know, I'd be keen to hear about that if anyone's got any more feedback. So it's ongoing, and we are still, you know, it's taken a long time, but, you know, we're still getting pieces of information coming in.
Yeah. Cool. You have to keep us updated about all that.
Oh, I will.
Keep you going forever, won't it?
Yeah, but that freedom of information, honestly, the little fella in Kew must have been laughing his trolleys off. You know, how can I tell him without telling him?
Yeah.
Brilliant, absolute brilliant.
So, do you know of any more UFO landings, whether crash landings or actual landings, that have not made major headlines?
If I'm being honest, I kind of get to hear about them at the rate of about 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah.
People come to me and they give me stories about, you know, things that have happened to them and where they've happened. And they all tend to follow a fairly regular pattern. You know, you've got your sightings, obviously your sightings where things are seen. Then you've got things that come perilously close to being encounters, you know, where people have been buzzed, or the car's been buzzed, or something's come down and landed within proximity of them. The one that I don't get to hear, it seems to have died out, is people saying, and then something got out of the craft, or I saw these beings in a field, or, you know, whatever. In real life, I don't get that happening. That people don't tend to come and tell me that. On the internet, you get all these, like, you know, amazing CGI things where you've got, you know, black figures running around in fields and all that. But in reality, that doesn't tend to happen. So they're still flying out there. They're still landing out there. There's still unexplained things happening. You get the burnt circles in fields, depressions. You still get crop circles, although you don't hear very much of them, which is a shame now. Not as much, but they do still turn up. They're still out there. And you do get damage. You know, you get damage to trees, damage to fields, damage to livestock. You know, that's all still going on. But like I say, at the rate of maybe a couple of incidents a year, I get to hear of them. In fact, the last one I heard about 2 or 3 minutes ago from you.
Oh
yeah. There you go. You see.
I'm like, why? What did I say? Yeah.
The flying saucer on the back of the truck. I mean, that's a case in point. That is probably the 3rd one I've heard, or 4th one I've heard this year, of something of that nature, you know, that just can't be explained.
I was literally, what,
you know,
10, 12 foot away from it. That's mad. It is. When you look at it like that, it's like, how, if that was actual, like a non-Earth origin vehicle, and now, I don't know, because I didn't see it, and I just seen something that was wrapped up that looked like that shape. How close I was to it,
you see,
not actually been able to see it.
If you chased that, if you pursued that, if there was any way at all through, you know, police, fire, ambulance, number plates, military records, whatever, chances are somebody would probably come back and go, oh, you know what? There was this film that they were making and they were doing a movie and they had to move the set, you know, and that's a prop. And, you know, they'll come up with some story to cover that.
Yeah.
So it's almost impossible to pursue it. But
well, I did look on local news, like where I live on the east of England, like Suffolk, Norfolk, on the internet, just on, because our TV region covers most of Suffolk and Peterborough, not so much Norfolk, but going out that way, there was nothing. No one else had reported anything. Or if anyone had, it hadn't been put forward.
Yeah, nobody picked it up.
There's no forums. I couldn't find anything. I looked probably for about a couple of weeks and then just thought, I ain't getting anywhere with this. So just
like you said at the beginning of the story, you weren't sure where you were because the sat nav went off. So you then pulled in. There's no way really of knowing exactly where you were. And these guys were obviously using B roads or significant A roads that were not widely used to get from wherever they were to where they were going. They weren't using like the motorway system or anything like that. They were just cutting up the shortest route.
It was literally cross country because you've got tons of, you got the A47, the A14, A11, A12, the 1107. I think it is a lot of A roads that they could use.
Yeah,
and
but they ended up going. Yeah,
and they go through all the little towns and villages.
Yeah,
that
sounds
make
right.
sense either. I suppose the more people that see it, the less people are gonna think about it.
Well, yeah, and the way they'd done it as well was to present it the way that you saw it. If they'd have not done it that way, because you're not going to tell anybody, you're not going to go to somebody and go, you're not going to believe this. I've just been driven, you know, someone's driven a flying saucer past me. Yeah. You're not going to tell anybody because you couldn't be sure that's what it was.
No,
you know, it
was the shape of one, and that's it.
Reasonable doubt, you know.
It could have been polystyrene, clay, could have been bricks. Do you know what? I couldn't see it, so there was honestly, I was trying to look for a little gap because there's always gaps in that. Nothing at all, and that's what made me ears prick up even more. Because normally you get a little bit flapping about, or
there's always a loose bit, or a gap.
If there was, it'd been on the other side where I couldn't see it. But there was, honestly, I'm not just, there was no, it was airtight. Nothing was getting in. Yeah, nothing was getting in.
They shrink wrapped it before they put it on, basically.
Do you know when you was it when they do cars? They put the wrap on a car and then they use the air blower to shrink it to the shape of it. Yeah, it was literally like that. But it had loads of ratchet straps around it.
There you go.
I know. So
and any more questions?
Interesting.
Yeah, let's not leave anybody hanging.
Yes, we have. This is from Og, our moderator. She's Mark. Are there more contactees coming forward?
Well, the short answer from me would be no. There's more eyewitnesses, and they're different. There's more people seeing more stuff now, I think, than at any other point. I think you know, stick my neck out and say it might be 1 in 3. 1 in 3 people have seen something in their lifetime that they can't explain. You know, lights, whatever, up in the sky. So that, if anything, that's increased. There's more of those. But what I'm getting is the feeling that actual contactees, that's getting less and less. And I mean right across the board. I don't just mean, you know, green men getting out of silver disc in fields. There's less people getting visited in the night. There's less shadowy figures. There's less kind of interaction on a visionary, mental, telepathic level. People are not discussing that. That's not coming forward. All the classic contactees all seem to have just gone quiet, especially this year. Seems to have gone really quiet this year. So as a rule, they're going down. You know, physical sites, physical evidence is going up, but the contactees seem to be getting less and less. I can't explain that, just an observation.
Just think, like, we'd be saying that could it be that there's less and less because there's a build up to something big could be happening?
Well, yeah.
Like the
Who
calm
knows?
before the storm,
Who
so to
knows?
speak.
Well, everybody everywhere has been talking about, President of America walking out onto the White House lawn with a little green man, hand in hand with a little green man. That again, it's believe it when you see it, and then when you do see it, don't believe it. Dig a bit deeper, find out what the hell's going on. Because if the X-Files, going back to an early conversation, if they're right, then this thing could be genetic anyway. It might just be something that's been made in a lab, or something genetically hybridized in order to fly certain craft in certain ways. Who knows? It might not be alien, is what I'm saying. So let's wait and see. Yeah, like you say.
Yeah, but talking about little green men, going slightly off topic again, the Woolpit children. I'm guessing you know about this.
Yeah, you've pretty well fallen off the edge of the flat earth in terms of going off topic. Flipping heck. The green children of Woolpit. Wow, yeah.
So what's your take on that?
Well, I've got two ideas of that, two theories, because the popular one, I mean, you're in I think it's 14th century, 1320s, 1340s, something like that. You're very early on in the medieval period, and it's definitely a genuine account because that's when that particular account was written down. And these kids come out of a hole in the ground describing another kingdom that they've come from, speaking a different language and green from head to foot. Now, I don't know whether it's a time slip or whether they have come from a different dimension and they do come from a different kingdom, or basically whether they were kids that were from another country that were working in a copper mine. That's a theory that nobody's explored. If you are digging for copper, you will turn green. That's what happens. I could spray myself with copper powder and I'd be green for a week. So there is that side of it. But then a lot of people have also gone down the folklore route and they've said, well, it's something to do with the green man because it's a male and a female. It's like Adam and Eve, and it's the nature cycle, greenery, the rebirth, the whole that side of things. Or aliens, just to bring it back on topic. Who knows? Who knows where they're coming from? I'm a reasonable believer in the possibility of interdimensional beings. Maybe ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, aliens, you name it. Maybe they're all just popping in and out from other dimensions that we're not aware of and that we can't see. Possibly that is the most sensible scientific answer to the green children of Woolpit. Yeah, because but there's no doubt that they existed. There's no doubt there were two of them. Unfortunately, the male child didn't survive.
No, he died after a couple of years.
He died, leaving the girl, who at some point must have been buried somewhere.
Well, so apparently she married one of the locals and had kids.
Yes. Well, as an archaeologist, I'd love to know where she's buried.
I know.
Let's go and have a look. know,
that's one place I need to go. I drive past it, not as much as I used to, quite often. I was saying the other day on air that there's a certain part as you come off the A14 into Woolpit, like to where the residential part. There's just something about this one little bit. There's something drawing me to it. So I think next time, whether I'm at work or just driving about, I'm just going to park up and go for a wander.
Yeah, I would, for sure.
There's when you can just feel something drawing you into it.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a believer in that. I think it happened. Definitely. But I don't have an easy explanation for that one.
No, but it just seems to be there's no follow up to it. There's no one's looked into it. The research.
If I was commissioned to do a program, that would be high on my list for the simple reason that there's physical evidence. We've got the physical evidence of the report. It's geographically located at a particular site, so you can research the local
and it's
area.
Not even a big area.
You could probably find the pit. There's an archaeological element to it where where's she buried, what happened to her family, what about DNA analysis and stuff like that, where did it go? So there's a whole exploration to be done there, and that is a very good case. It's a very good case for that.
I think I need to look into that. That'll be something to do.
So if there's anybody out there that has the funds to commission a mini series,
yes,
let's
we're
do
up
it.
for it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Not till next year though. I've no holidays left this year, so I won't be able to get time off work.
Well,
But
I'll script it. I've got plenty of time. I can do it.
There we go. Awesome.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things that's always intrigued me because I heard about that. Do you ever used to listen to Key 103?
Yes.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Spence McDonald.
Yeah.
And he used to do a thing called Truth is Stranger Than Fiction?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And that was on there. I always remember that. And there's one of another thing where someone was putting some coal. They got some coal and they went to throw it on the fire and they dropped a piece of coal. It cracked open and there's a transparent frog inside it that had no mouth. So it couldn't feed. It's completely transparent. And I think it stayed alive for about just short of a week.
Oh, there's a whole ruck of stories to do with frogs. And you're into what's the name of that fella that Fortean, Charles Fort, Fortean Times.
Yes.
That's where you're going now. Yeah, I'm a big fan of all that stuff. I've got loads of stories.
Yeah, but they're just the two stories that I always remember from. This is probably what, 1992, 91, 92.
That's back in the days of Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World.
Yes, yeah.
There's another one. Yeah.
And with that, I always remember the moving rocks across the desert.
Yeah,
that was one that always stuck in my head. Yeah,
and
they reckon
trails.
And they reckon it was the heat that was making them move.
Yeah. Clever stuff.
That's it. I know. So yeah, but I just thought I'd throw that with you saying about Little Green Men.
Yeah.
So, right, we do have another question for you, and that's from Og again. And she's saying, Matt, what do you think of the flyover at the Galactic Federation Conference in Colorado?
Wow, now you're really taxing me, bearing in mind that I'm not a big follower of things over in the USA. I try and keep in touch with things. I would need to know a little bit more about the story, if I'm being honest. I assume that Og's based in the USA. She USA?
No,
based?
She's Norfolk.
Oh, right. Hi, Og. I didn't realize you were in this country.
Yeah.
I've not followed it. I've not followed that particular story. Galactic Federation Conference.
No, I seen something popped up when I was getting ready to do this tonight, but that was it.
It's going to be really recent. I've been online today, but I haven't picked up on it, unfortunately. Do we have any more data? Any more information?
I have not got a clue.
No.
Hopefully someone will put something up in the chat, but...
Okay.
No, I said it popped up, but because I was getting everything ready, I didn't have time.
Yeah.
Oh, she sent it to me. Have you?
Ah.
Right, let me find it. Could be anywhere. Right. Where
Yet again, more conclusive evidence that this genuinely is live.
No. When did you send it? Sorry about this.
That's all right. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that it sounds like something flew over the conference. Or some things flew over the conference by the sound of it. But if that's the case, you never know. There could be footage.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, she's going to send it again. So
okay.
While we wait on that, have you got any stuff that you've got coming up? Any new projects that you can talk about?
Well, it's probably worth. I mean, this is the run up to Christmas, so it's worth doing the advert, isn't it? So let's get that out of the way. Let's get the publishers happy. If you want to go and find any of my books are the main thing. There are 9 of them. They're all on Amazon. The most recent ones are, let's try and get this right: Disappearing Ninth Legion, Life and Times of the Real Robin Hood, ROBYNHOODE. If you want to find that one, Revealing the Green Man. And then more recently than that, Crystal Skulls and Human Heads, the Polychronicon of Merlin, Joseph and Arthur, which is a brilliant book. And if you order that for Christmas, order it in hardback. It's brilliant. And the last one was Europe's Roswell, 40 Years Since Impact.
That's the one.
all available on Amazon, all of them. So all you have to do is go to Amazon, click on them,
Yeah.
and they'll come winging through your door. If you want to see any of the back catalogue over the last 18 months, the back catalogue of productions that I've done, all the documentaries now and the TV series Lost Treasures and a lot of other bits and bobs, they're all on YouTube. So there's another really easy one. Just put me and whatever the title, what you're looking for is into YouTube. You'll get tons of material.
Yeah.
And then if folks want to contact me, Facebook, have a go on Facebook. Send me a friend request or message me on Messenger. So that's basically it. If you want books, it's Amazon. If you want back catalogue material, it's YouTube. And if you want to chat to me or come and have a look what I'm up to properly, come and have a look on Facebook, because I've got some really nice events coming up next year. This year just gone, I did Vikings and Victorians, which was in a Viking longhouse in Herefordshire. That was brilliant.
Oh wow,
fabulous event. Well, the same guys that organised that this year are doing progressive rock and zombies at the same venue. That's fabulous. It's a band, a fairly well-known band called Arena. They've got their 30-year tour coming up this next year, and I'm doing some work with one or two of the members of that band, and it's just brilliant. Loads of fun. So if you want to know more about that, come and find me on Facebook. That's coming up. And there's another 3 books in progress, but I'll bore you to death if I go into detail. Hopefully, they'll be available towards the end of 2025.
Right. Well, I've got the video lined up. If you want to watch it, this thing that happened, let me share screen. Window, this one. There we go. So add to stage. It's a bit of a pain because
it's doing something, but here we go.
Right. So I've took the sound off. So I'm just it's really loud. There's a lot of people screaming and shouting. But this is basically what it is. It's about 3 minutes 15. So I'll just play it. So I'm guessing they're using a laser pointer to...
Yeah. Or night vision.
Whatever it is.
That's night vision.
That's night vision, but I think that's a laser pointer because you can see the dust glittering inside it.
Yeah, you can, and then you've got this strange V shape of lights going overhead, which presumably...
But then you've got the other one at the back. Oh, there's a couple there. Well,
there's a lot going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Presumably this is filmed in real time as well, hence the fact they can use the laser pointer. Yeah, there you go. You can see them actually going overhead.
I'll put a bit of this sound on. There we go. Just so you get an idea that people stood there watching.
I think I can take that as read. It's interesting they're all going in the same direction. They're all sort of going from top right down to bottom left as we're looking at them.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, that's a number of lights
formations going into one. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. It's almost like they're dodging the laser beam as well, isn't it? As soon as the laser interacts with the formation,
I was thinking, is that not gonna?
I've got to say, it's compelling. It's good footage.
Because if that was any of our pilots, they wouldn't get that close at that speed, would they?
No, the formation, the formations don't make sense. I mean, what's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? It's probably about 5 or 6. Yeah, 5 there.
But it's a way how quick it changes form and then creates another one.
Yeah. Oh, it's a totally new one on me, but I'm guessing it's new footage anyway.
Yeah.
Those formations, those types of things are more common, I think, in America than they are over here. Oh, look at this. Here we go.
Yeah.
They're moving too fast to be Chinese lanterns. I'd rule that out. 2, 3, 4.
But even
5,
the
yeah.
way that they're moving, the two,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's different ones, but I'll turn that off.
Yeah, no, that was good.
But yeah, because Darryl just put, so is that not the moon, the green circle? No, I thought it was the moon, but I'm guessing
I was at that point as well at the beginning. I was thinking they were flying across the surface of the moon, but it's actually it's the night vision. Yeah, night scope.
The circle of either one lens or a single lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, here we go. So the Galactic Federation conference in Colorado in September. They're doing one in Eastbourne in June. Do you know anything about that? Well, you do now if you didn't.
I do now. Yeah, I do now.
Monocular, that's it.
Monocular, that's the one, yeah. Night vision monocular. I presume they're hoping they'll have a bit of a fly past and a buzz as well over here. I mean, all things are possible, so you never know.
Oh, yeah. I know. But no, I've not seen that footage before. That wasn't what the footage I seen was the two blokes sat talking a load of nonsense behind a desk. That was it.
No, that was good. That was very good. But that is very typical of the sort of thing that is increasing. As I say, you're getting more of stuff like that appearing. So that doesn't surprise me in the slightest that somebody's finally managed to get that footage. That's getting more frequent.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So it's strange, isn't it? It's just, I don't see it. I just watch everyone else's footage of it all.
I don't know.
But it's like, I'll tell you what I did get last night, or early hours of this morning. It was about 2:30, 2:45, and it sounded like someone's horn was going off on the car. Like someone just sat there, just pressing it. An hour and a half. It seemed to get a little bit louder.
Whoa.
Then faded out to nothing. But this is about the 4th time I've heard this since the very beginning of lockdown. So since 2020. It's probably happened more than that, but it's the 4th time that I've heard it. It's just the same frequency right the way through.
It sounds like a siren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, I know you know what it sounds like, but it's just,
yeah.
Because what the missus up and like, can you hear that? She went, that's what she said to you. So, yeah, it sounds like a car's horn.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, it does. I think it better not be mine. I am not getting on.
Yeah.
Can't be asked.
Either where I live here, it's chaos permanently 24/7. Yeah. So we don't.
We've got a busy road at the back. Yeah. We've got ambulance because the ambulance station isn't that far away. There's got an ambulance station one way, a police station the other way, and then in between the two, we got the fire station. They're all probably a mile.
Yeah.
Nearest one's about half a mile. Furthest one's about a mile away. So we get them coming up and down here all the time.
Oh yeah, we're in the same position. Car park at the back, school at the front, village just over the wall, couple of supermarkets. And we're under the flight path for the military as well. So we get all sorts. Yeah,
just what you want.
I don't believe anything I see in the air. Mind you, that's interesting actually, because you always know what's going to appear on the 6 o'clock news because they mobilise the troops and then fly over us. So we get all the big aircraft. Like, we'll find out what that is tomorrow. You know, if it comes on the 6 o'clock news. You know, So we're close enough to know what's going on.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just weird because, like I said, it's the 4th time.
Yeah.
Sure, it's the 4th time that I've heard it. I think it was Jason. I don't know if he's still in the chat. I recorded one once and I sent it to him because he's got a frequency reader.
Right.
And he took it and sent it back with what frequency it was giving out. And it wasn't that long after they'd set up the 5G towers. Because where I am, there's two. So there's two over that way.
Yeah.
Then there's 2 that way. Then there's 2 over that way, and then there's 2 behind us.
I wonder
All within a
yeah.
quarter of a. They're well within a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, it could be. It could be some kind of wave interaction between them that's creating it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But it's all at different times. Because the first time I heard it, I thought of tinnitus.
no
And
idea what
then
that.
I'd gone to the bathroom because the bathroom's at the front of the house.
Yeah,
And it's like, no, this is coming from outside. But it was starting to hurt my ears. It was that.
wow.
Wasn't loud. It's that high pitched.
Well,
It
it
was like,
definitely
I
definitely
needed to put
exists.
something in my ear.
Yeah, if you can record it, then it definitely exists.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You won't be the only person hearing that. There'll be others.
No, well, the missus heard it.
Yeah.
At least 3 of them. I think one of them, I woke up and thought, oh, can't be bothered with it, not again. But last night I was already awake, so it's like, this is doing my head in.
Oh, that'd annoy the hell out of me because I record stuff here, so that would be.
I was ready for half climbing out the window with my phone doing that. But I think next time you hear it, I'll record it again and see what frequency it's on.
Yeah, should do. Yeah. We have an unsolved mystery.
It's Skype from bits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, right. Well, we've done the 2 hours virtually. So thank you
has
again.
it gone? Wow, that went really
1 hour
quickly.
56.
Wow.
But see what I mean about that extra 30 minutes? We can get everything in, tie it all up.
Makes a huge
nice
difference.
And neat. Yeah. And it makes it easier for all of us, doesn't it?
So all you need to do now is come up with another subject for me to tackle, and I'll be back in the new year, I guess. Ooh.
Yes. Oh, you are more than welcome to come back anytime you want. So anyone got anything, they can either email me at andy@alienate.uk, or if you've got 2 minutes, you can put it in the chat now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fairly well known for doing things like Templars and stuff like that.
Knights Templar.
Knights Templar,
Yes.
yeah, I could do that. Or like Da Vinci Code type Bible mysteries and stuff. I mean, you could push the 2 together. You know, we could do one of those.
I'm going to say they must be linked.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. Yeah,
they've got to.
King Arthur. Do you King Arthur one day?
Ooh, King Arthur's.
Yeah, we could do that in the summer, maybe.
Oh, should we do that one then? The whale, because we did start talking about it last time.
Yeah,
we didn't do
a
deep dive in it, and it will give me chance then to get some more knowledge on it, other than what people have told me over the last couple of months.
And then people can dash out, buy the Polychronicon of Merlin, Joseph, and Arthur for Christmas. For Christmas, and then they can come back and bombard me with questions on that in the new year. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yes, because what I've done, because I was going to get the book, then I thought, well, Christmas is here soon, and I keep getting moaned at for buying stuff throughout the year. So I've created a Christmas list on my Amazon account.
Yay! Well done.
So fingers crossed that's going to be in it. If not, I'll just go out and buy it. Yeah. No. So that's it. Yeah, it'll be a Wednesday or a Friday. Fridays are better. Fridays are more in depth, I think.
Right, we'll do Friday then.
Yeah.
Yeah, give us a shout and send me an email.
Definitely.
I'll be ready for that.
Yeah, so we'll do Wales and the King Arthurs, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
The real Welsh Arthur.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Right. So thank you everyone so much for joining. Thank you to all the new subscribers and people in the chat. I enjoyed the chat because it was not everyone was agreeing with everyone else. Everyone had their own opinion as to what we was talking about. And I think that makes it not more entertaining. I suppose it is more entertaining, isn't it?
But it's a richer mix, isn't it? It's a richer mix of material. So.
Than everyone being a yes man and just agreeing for the sake of agreeing. I hate that. That's what I said to you off air, wasn't it? Don't agree with me just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
If you don't agree, you don't agree. Like I said to you, there's stuff that you'll say I won't agree with and vice versa. It's just how it is. But no one's crying and we're still friends.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. Yeah. So come back on Wednesday where we have got, I don't even know who's on. Mark Anderson from Scottish Paranormal Podcast. He came on for the 24-hour podcast, but we're going to do more in-depth one with him about what he does, how he knows Chris. so on and so on. And then we have Adam Butler coming on the 29th, where he's going to talk about his DMT field guide. So that's another good one. They're all good. They're all going to be good, every single one of them. And then we've got Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday, the 4th of December, is back to our area encounters. It'll be myself, Daryl, and Nicole. Friday, we've got the showman and the shaman and the showman. Sorry. Then on the 9th of December is Ian Gossett, and that's going to be the very last Monday show. Then after that, it's just Wednesdays and Fridays, but they're all going to be running for 2 hours or thereabouts. And that's it. So get your questions ready for Mark for Wednesday. And if you can't be with us on Wednesday, definitely get your questions for Adam on Friday. So thank you again, Mark. Absolute legend.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Every single minute of it. Thank you to everyone who's listening and downloading on Podcast Player. And this one's going to be going out at some point this evening. That's it. So have a wonderful 2 days, and we'll see you at 8:30 Wednesday, 3:30 EST. Thanks again, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
See you then.
Goodbye.